by the rivers of Babylon. Yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Torah review. My name is Zurishaddai. I'm one of the teachers of congregation D.C.B. CHOKMAH. We are located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Our address is 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. Praying that the Most High Creator of heaven and earth be with you all, that He guide and protect each and every one of you. We give glory unto His high and holy name because He is the only God, and besides Him there is no other. We give Him all the glory and praises that's due unto His high and holy name because He is magnificent. And we pray for the life of all those who are sick. We also remember all those who have moved on, who been an impact to us in our lives, brothers and sisters, teachers, parents. We pray that the Most High God will bless all of their memories. And I pray that the Creator of heaven and earth will continue to be with Kobe Yisrael scattered in the four corners of the earth. That's Kobe Yisrael, that the whole house of Yisrael, or all the house of Yisrael, scattered in the four corners of the earth. I pray that the Creator be with you all and protect you and guide you. Hallelujah. Giving due respect to the leadership of our congregation, even my brother, Chief Prince Yediel Ben Yissaskar, that the Most High God be with him and his family, his household. Praying that the Creator will continue to strengthen all of our brothers and sisters, those who are in the congregation itself physically and those who are online, our members online. We pray that the Creator be with you all. So at this time, I'm going to pass it over to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, Nasik Zurishaddai ben Yehudah, who will be going over Psalms 50 today. How are you, Nasik?
First of all, I'd like to give praises to the Supreme Intelligence of the universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And due respect to the platform on a D.C.B. channel platform, our spiritual leader, Chief Prince Yeriel Ben Yissaskar, to the host Chief Uzael, to the Princess Chief Cornine, Rabbinate, Maureen, brothers and sisters and visitors, I greet you all in the tongue of my forefathers. Shalom Aleichem and an early Shabbat Shalom. I'll be covering Psalm 50 as Chief Uzael has spoken on, but it also be touching on the Sidra Pinchas, and which and we'll be doing a different hop Torah, that comes along this particular season. First of all, I'd like to say Adonai Septai Titakofi Yagi Tilatheka, O Lord, that my lips, mouth shall declare that praise. I seen a question that was posed to me by a brother concerning Judith, we say Yehudi, that's in a mention in Apocrypha. Unfortunately, I just really received a question, noticed the question just prior. I think a guy named Glenn Burnside, 1985. So, and the question was, it's about the fast in the book of Zechariah, 3 weeks before the temple destroyed. Is this the same fast in the book of Judith when she cut off Holofernes' head? Now, for those that may not know about that story, that was a event that happened in a book we call the Apocrypha, the non-canonical books of the scriptures. And she was a Israelite, a widow, beautiful woman, fair understanding, nice looking, and a lot of wisdom. And according to the story, just roughly, we was being sieged by Halophah is supposed to have been an Assyrian, but it's supposed to have been taken over by as under the domains of Syria, which is the Babylonian Empire under Nebuchadnezzar, who father revolt against the Assyrians. His name was Nabopolassar. Now, according to the story, they put a siege on Jerusalem, and yet when they put the siege on it, they all gave them an alternative to surrender. And according to the story, if I recall correctly, the priest said, "Give us 5 days, for us to make our decision." So they was hoping for a miracle, and she, in short, came to the aid of the people of that time, and she seduced the general of that besieging army against Jerusalem, and wound up chopping off his head and bringing it back. And so that supposed to secure a little bit of a victory for the nation of Israel. Now, the time frame would seem to be close to the time of the siege. And if you could forgive me just going back, I just want to address this question. The time frame seemed to be close to the time that the temple was going to be destroyed, in the time when Nebuchadnezzar was in power. There's a lot of discrepancies concerning the story, and hence that's why it's in the Apocrypha. And also the mode that she used to procure victory, was pretty much a mode that's was not so favorable, similar to when we get into the Pinker story in this particular Sidra. Also, I'm say I don't know the definitive answer. I'm gonna say that off the front. I'm gonna give you my view, which is quite other people might have similar views and other people might have different views on it. I'm giving you my view, Crown Prince Zurishaddai, Ben Yehudah's view on that. And we know that that Nebuchadnezzar was a real cruel individual. And from the history that we know about Nebuchadnezzar, had a general such as that lost his head, in a battle. He wasn't the only general, and it wasn't end the war. We know that in the book where we have a Bedouin woman named Yael, when she nailed the king Sisera's head with a tent peg to the ground in her tent, it was already after the victory was being much won. They just want to end it by actually catching the king. So it's a different scenario there. So the king had fled, but in this case, the general losing his head and the army that's already besieging the city, that would be really, really difficult to swallow, that they just turn around and leave, over just one man losing his head, and the general was a warrior. So, but the time period, and plus the book, the earliest writings we have, is basically, I think, if I recall correctly, about 100 years, maybe BCE, give or take. So, and which means before the Common Era. So, I would say that that's different from the siege that we talk about in the book of Zechariah, when they actually breached the wall, because the siege started. And so even if it was that time frame, the actual first siege started in the 10th month. That's why they have the fast in the 10th month of the year, which the fast started at the end of the year of a particular ecclesiastical year. So it started in the 10th month. That's when the siege hit. And then they actually breached the wall at the turn of the year in the 4th month. And when the temple was being destroyed, it was being destroyed. The fire was set basically the 9th. In the book you'll see it mentions the 10th that the temple was being destroyed in the book of Jeremiah. But according to other historians, they say the fires actually started the 9th and it was completely destroyed by the 10th. But what we find here is that it stands to reason that if you're going to lay a siege to a place, you lay a siege, and it's just way after the harvest season, but it's in the heat of summer, where Jerusalem is basically a hill country. I mean, mountainous areas. So water, it'd be a rough time. You cut off a person's water supply if you're laying siege. And the fighting, when they broke the wall and breached the wall and got in, the fighting was fierce. So it took that long for them to actually get to the spot that actually destroy the temple. So my answer in short was, I don't relate that to the breach of the wall or the fast of the 4th month that they talk about, which is the 3 weeks that they talk about in this particular time period. And also saying that the Sidra being Pinchas, the Haftorah, and Pinchas is the Sidra that's normally most people go by. And the Haftorah and Pinchas goes from Numbers, the 25th chapter, 10th verse, to the 30th chapter, 1st verse. The normal Sidra would be for the Book of Kings, 1 Kings 18:46 to 19:21. That'd be the normal Haftorah part for that Sidra. When it gets to, but Pinchas normally, if it comes close to the 17th, or what they refer to as the 4th month of Tammuz, then that Shabbat, they start the 3 weeks of admonishment. And so normally where a Haftorah has something to do with the actual Sidra, they change it up. And I spoke on it before, those that canonize and come up with this, the rabbinic sources and stuff that we adhere to that follows this particular tradition, they changed it up where normally the Sidra, the Haftorah deals with something in the Sidra, but then at times, in this time of the year, we have 3 Haftorahs for the 3 weeks of admonishment to the destruction of the temple itself, which is actually in the 5th month, which is and so that's how long ago. And we see an example of Jeremiah getting the sign. So I'm not going to speak that much on that as of now, but so for the next 3 weeks, the Haftorah got something to do with the time and season that we was in the land, and that's why it's admonishment, because it's our lack of observance, a lack of fidelity that caused the temple to be demolished, because we didn't prove ourselves worthy at that time. So for 3 weeks, we don't get those Haftorahs of admonishment. And then we have 7 Haftorahs of comfort coming. And that lasts all the way to what they refer to as Yom Teruah or Rosh Hashanah. It depends on which name you like to use. So we have 7 weeks after that. So those Haftorahs is dealing with time and comfort. And so they don't normally follow the normal Haftorahs that we deal with on the Sidros from week to week. So that being said, I'd like to just highlight some points here and only focus on maybe 1 or 2 points in the Sidra. So the Sidra of Pinchas, as I said, starts in the 25th chapter of Numbers, the 10th verse. And it talks about, the Lord grant Pinchas everlasting priesthood. Then it goes on, the Lord tells Moses to harass the Midianites. Then we have a second census. The Lord ordered a second census for Israel, and it's in the 40th year. And it goes by each tribe, enumerating the tribes and numbers of each tribe members. And then after that, it goes into the inheritance of the land. And then when they go to the inheritance land, then they have actually the numbers of the Levites themselves, the different groups of the Levites. And then from there, they talk about who only survived from the first count, which is Caleb and Joshua. All right. And then it goes into the daughters of Zelophehad, who's trying to get an inheritance themselves. And then they have a law of inheritance that's mentioned here. And then it goes on that the Creator tells Moses that he's going to die. Joshua is appointed to succeed Moses. Then it goes into different offerings and stuff, and the offerings on Shabbat, offerings at the beginning of the month. Then it goes into the the various Shalosh Regalim, the pilgrimage time like Passover, Shavuot, and Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, and all that. And then as it goes, it finally ends up when it goes and talk about goes into when you get ready to get into vows. All right. So it ends up with tabernacles, then talk about vows. All right. And then it goes more extensively into vows at next Sidra. So now I like to focus on where we left off at. And I didn't speak much. I left a few questions on the table last time about was Balak, but Balaam blessed for blessing Israel. And, a couple of people had various views. And the view I would present is that he was blessed, being he was able to walk away from a guy who wanted to destroy people, that he was sent for by a king under great expense, under great agony, and upset the king so much that the king believed in him so much that he wound up not only clapping his hands together, like he didn't even touch him, then reach out to lay hands on him. And the king said at the end that he thought to promote him up, but his God kept him back. So the king looked at him as being, look, what your belief system, your God held you back. I could do more for you than your God did. And so it brings out a different type of thought pattern from when we leave off in the last portion. But to show you that sometimes people don't leave well enough alone. Balaam himself, he said, let me tell you what's going to happen in the last days and how to counsel how to get these people to mess up. So we know automatically in the last portion it ends where the people start worshiping, participate in worshiping other gods of the Midianites and Moabites, and also that Pinchas did a great act of slaying the top prince of the tribe of Simeon, not a regular prince, the one that's over the tribe. If you're going to take account of the tribes, that was the guy that would be the top prince of all that tribe, the chief prince of that particular tribe, of his father's house. And also, he winds up killing the woman he was with, which is a daughter of a top prince and one of the clans of Midian. What was interesting is that in the way it was done, this guy, the prince, we don't read that he actually took part in the worship service, so to speak, according to the Tanakh. And I'm only saying according to the Tanakh itself. So I just want to bring those parts up before we go into any other area, that the people that was the leaders of that sin, God told them to hang them up. So they was hanged, the people that had took part parcel to that act. And this guy obviously wasn't one of those people that actually took part of the act directly of worshiping. So those are something to consider, and as we look at this situation a little bit more. And then this guy walks through the place when the children of Israel were still crying out, the congregation, passing Moses and Eleazar, the priest, and in front of everybody with this Midianite woman, and go straight to his tent. So obviously he wasn't trying to hide what he had. Obviously, nobody else said anything. It would appear that the majority of the people didn't think there was anything wrong with what he was doing. So here, this man, Pinchas, goes into his tent with a javelin, and it's the top prince. So he didn't really feel threatened, and caught this man in a precarious position in the act, and stabbed him through the back, and stabbed the woman through her stomach with one stroke. So we can imagine how, the position they was in. That would seem like a real, but most people say, they stole him, he snuck him, he sniped him. So now what we have here, and I'm just going to read just a little bit of this and then move on. What we have here in the 10th verse, and it stopped the plague, and it said those that died by the plague were 20,000. So in the 10th verse, it says, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, had turned my wrath away from the children of Israel, and that he was very jealous for my sake among them, so that I consume not the children of Israel in my jealousy. We will say, behold, I give unto him my covenant of peace, and shall be unto him and to his seed after him the covenant of priesthood. He was jealous for his God and made an atonement for the children of Israel. Now the name of the man of Israel that was slain, who was slain with the nice woman, the Shalom, a prince of Nadish woman that was slain was Colsby, was head of the people and the name of the Midianite, a father's house in Midian. All right, so these are two aristocratic people here that he's slain. And it says, so the status of Pinchas don't seem as high as the man slain, nor the woman. Moses you house where they had daughter of the prince of Midian, their sister therefore. I'm just going to speak on that. I'm not going to go through the whole thing in reference to that particular portion. I'm just going to bring out some points and thoughts on that. We can take a look at is that one, when we go back in history, Simeon and Levi was real close. We know in of Dinah, when she was snatched up by the prince of Shechem, that I think they made an agreement, a verbal agreement, that Simeon and Levi together went up. I don't know the little ones that bought the city. Along say people could have come to a similar verdict. Okay. So I'm trying to pick up with Bilam. Bilam himself, he had counsel Balak, but he was definitely blessed, in the sense that he was able to walk away with his life from the king that actually known to be a destroyer. He was able to walk away from it with his life, and he counseled him against us, to be able to destroy the Israelites, where they self-destruct themselves by doing some unseemly thing with us. So when we look at that, and I brought out the story about you raped my sister, therefore you deserve death. Another guy might say, you raped a woman and you deserve death, not because she's my sister. So, you know, I always point out they had raped their sister Dinah, city of Shechem, on the men of Shechem. Not again. I used this as a scenario myself. One guy would say, take it personal, the other one won't take it personal. You take it into being a universal. So, because Dinah is just as much Lewi's sister as it is Simeon's sister, because they had the exact same mother and same father. So the difference is that they didn't like illicit relationships then, and wiped out a people because, you know, wiped out a particular person. So now when they went down to Egypt, just to bring a little highlight, you figure, why did Joseph snatch up Simeon as opposed to Lewi? You know, he could have just snatched up anyone. He asked for somebody to be left behind, but they refused to give him anyone, so he took one, which was Simeon. Second oldest, a lot of various reasons, but it's interesting that he was the one that was locked up, you know, in Egypt during the famine before Jacob came there. So now when we look at this situation here, he's a prince. He got a princess. Moses married a Midianite himself, who happened to be a daughter of a priest. So now, Simeon's older than we. So therefore, and the king is greater than the priest in status-wise. So therefore, he walked past everybody proudly. Like, I'm not worshiping no other God. I just got to find me a fine young lady from over there. Not realizing the issue there. Not caring about the actual thing of people mourning because of the plague. In the midst of a plague. So I know there's a lot of midrash concerning that, but I'm not focusing on those different various midrashins and commentaries on that. I'm just bringing out what we have here that's presented in the Tanakh. So naturally, you know, when Pinchas goes in and slay him, that would seem like, how dare you, in normal circumstances. So it's the first time that the Creator ever stepped in without due process. You know, because this prince wasn't afforded due process, and exonerated a man for a crime, for an act that was seen like, you know, a passionate crime. It was seen like a passionate crime, but the Creator exonerated him, and then he gives him, you know, a covenant of peace, and then for him and his kids, a covenant of everlasting priesthood. All right, so the covenant of peace was only for Pentecost. Why? Retaliation. Like we're reading this now. Some of us have problems with how you just go ahead and do that when Moses didn't do that. You're not greater than Moses, and your father didn't say anything. So why you did that? And this is the top guy. So how can you go through that and do that? And then there's a lot of other scenarios I like to bring out before I go forward, because I'm only going to focus on this part and then probably the inheritance and go to the psalm. Another thing to think about as we go through this here is that when the Creator promised him a covenant of peace, he did that first, and then an everlasting priesthood, for him and his children. He the only one get the covenant of peace. Why? One, retaliation. The Simeonites won't retaliate, and nobody else will retaliate against you. Two, you have to be able to live with what you did. Can you live with that and still function as a priest without having second thoughts and say, was it a better method of doing things? So he got to be psychologically be able to say, look, God justified me, I'm justified, I have no regrets. One of the things, David, when God forgiving David, David could never forgive himself. So God said that covenant of peace for him and not for all his descendants. I also still pray for the land. He had that for him. Look at the word shalom that's in most Masoretic texts, and definitely every scroll. Those that read the scrolls, and the letter, but the actual letter is a YAH. Why didn't his nephew? Things that we got to consider. Reason why? They say a letter that looked like a little hook at the top. It has space in between it. It's like peace was secure, but it's not full. And then when you peace, because the way it was done, that's one of the commentaries they have on reference to that particular letter concerning the peace that's given to Pentecost, and also in the scroll, the Yod and Pentecost name in the second, 11th verse of that, or right after that, it's written smaller. It's already a small letter, but it's written smaller. So those things there, you might find it in the text, but you find it in the scroll. So that's and then the Creator told us to harass the Midianites, and so this one thing said, harass the Midianites. Moses' father-in-law helped us, get better. He was concerned for the people. The Midianites was not concerned, as it's different clans of Midianites, just like different clans of Israel. And what we find here is that you have several books, several sidros named after people. You got Kaye Sarah. All right, that's the first time anything is named after anybody, and it had to be a woman. Kaye Sarah. Then you have, after Kaye Sarah, then you have Yithro, a foreigner, a Midianite. And then after that, you have Korah, a Levite, an Israelite. Then after that, Korah, then you have Balak, a Moabite. Now you got kinfolks to us, Midianites and Moabites. They're kinfolks to us. The Moabites descendants a Lot, Abraham's nephew. And then you got the Midianites, from Abraham's woman that he remarried called Keturah. Then you have Pinchas. So you got 2 Levites, books named after them. One good, one bad, and one good. Both rash. And I could go deeper, but I don't want to spend that much time on it. And then you have 2 outsiders. Jethro, who tried to preserve and help the nation, and Balak, who wanted to destroy the nation. So those are something to consider in that respect. So, and what we find here too, and I like to before I move on into the rest of the book about the daughters of the law prayers, is that all the times we had problems in the wilderness, for the most part, it was the men that did it. It was the men that had the women of the Midianites. It wasn't the women having men from Midian. It was the men having women. It was the men that dealt with the golden calf more so than women. And, we know that the women wasn't messing up a lot in the wilderness. It was the men that was destined to die from 20 and up. That was in the census, not the women. And yet, you figure you're on a 40-year death march. So if you're on a 40-year death march, and this is taking place in the 40th year, we had to have a lot of people die. So out of 600,000 plus men of war, just that alone, how many people should die every year? How many people, will be leaving? So you're going to have some wars that take your mind off of, 2,000 people dropping dead now. And if you just do the math and divide just 40, to 600,000 plus 40 into 40, you got a large amount of people dying every year. Just only men. Only men, mind you. So that says a lot about, the women's and the good women's, in the nation of Israel. And I bring that out to, let you know that, that sometimes we as men might drop the ball on certain areas, but we also responsible to lead the household as we get into the, the last portion of this thing, we're talking about vows. And then we go into the next sidra as well. But I'm gonna go into the daughters of Zallah prayers, then I'll read the psalm. Or anything else happen on this computer. So we find here about the laws and inheritance, and that's I want to bring up about that, and that's in the 27th chapter. Now, what's interesting when we're talking to get to the daughters of Zallah prayers is that how the laws of inheritance is done. And I'm gonna go back to the 51st verse of the 26th chapter and just read this. Read, these are they that were number of the children of Israel, 600,000 and 1,730. We lost a few people from the first count. That's number one. Also, the tribe of Simeon, which was the third largest tribe at one time in the first count, happened to be the smallest tribe at this particular count. And the Lord spoke to Moses saying, that's the 52nd verse of the 26th chapter. Unto these the land shall be divided for an inheritance according to the number of names. To the more thou shalt give, the more inheritance. And to the fewer thou shalt give, the less inheritance. To each one according to those that were numbered of it shall it inherit, shall his inheritance be given. Notwithstanding, the land shall be divided by lot, according to the names of the tribe of their fathers, and they shall inherit. According to the lot shall their inheritance be divided between the more and the fewer. So I'm not going to spend time on that much because this is a miracle in itself. If I know my numbers, then I already know how to do the math, how much territory I should get. Now, The problem is, where should the territory be? That's one area. But I know how much territory I should get. So if I know that I'm bigger than the biggest tribe, Yehudah is the biggest tribe, I should have the most territory. But where should I be located with the most territory? That's it. And also, if I know I'm bigger, why I got to have a lottery? I mean, just put, you know my name, you know my tribe. So just go ahead on and give me the parcel for my tribe. And you know what's so interesting about it is that is put in the hands of God alone. Moses is exonerated for saying, well, I like this tribe better than the other tribe, you know, and all that kind of stuff. It takes away doubt, because now how do a lottery, if I put my name in and say a bowl, I'm just using an example of a bowl, and we got these 12 parcels sliced up, and I put my name in a bowl, then when I reach in and pull out, I'm pulling out not only my name, but the property that belongs to my tribe by my numbers. Whether I pick first, second, or third, I'm only going to get the property that's allotted by God for my tribe according to my numbers. Now that's a real serious miracle. I wish the other lottery would be just that easy, you know, but that's a serious miracle in itself. So, just something to think about and discuss even further. And then I'm gonna throw this out here to discuss even further. When we know that 2.5 tribes are gonna stay on the other side, do they pick out that 12 or not? And if they do, what becomes of it? And they refuse to pick. So those are questions that discuss amongst your various teachers and leaders about the lottery. But I'm going to go into the Zelophehad's daughter, which is 27th chapter, and I'll finish here. It says, then drew the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Hephah, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of Manasseh, the sons of Joseph. And these are the names of their daughters: Machlah, Noah, and Noah is spelled different than Hebrew. You know, spelled with this here is spelled with a ayin, as opposed to Noach is spelled with a chet at the end. All right. And Hoglah and Milcah and Tirzah. And they stood before Moses and Eleazar the priest, and before the princes and all the congregation, the door of the tent of meeting, saying, our father died in the wilderness. He was not among the company of them that gathered themselves against the Lord in the company of Korah, but he died in his own sin. He had no sons. Why should the name of our father be done away from among his family? Because he had no sons. Give unto us a possession among the brethren of our father. So this is a question and a demand presented in front of the leaders of the tribes who are supposed to be responsible for picking the lottery. They weren't supposed to be at that meeting. What made them so bold to come to that meeting? And not only that, they say that we want his part amongst the tribe. So, I mean, individuals, is to be a further dividing amongst the individuals, families within the tribes themselves. And they said, we want our father's part, all 5 of them. And say he died. But you know, why would Moses not be able to answer that question? When we read in the beginning, 40 years ago, people came to him for judgment to know the matters of God way back then. And they don't say what the problems were that he was judging when Jethro stood by. So now, all of a sudden, something is that. Who told them to come up to the tent of meeting? Who gave them that kind of liberty? And then, which I could bring out, you know, just throw this out there in passing. It's several families, basically about 12 different families that we read about in the breakdown of the different census that disappeared, different branches of the family on both sides, 5 from the nation of Israel and 7 from the tribe of Levi. So I just leave that for people that do their own little studies in that area. And you wonder what happened, because if you've got a 40 years of death march, then why stay there in the wilderness? It'd be easier. It's only about 11 days or so to go back to Egypt. Why stick it out in the wilderness? If I know I ain't gonna go to the land, if I know I'm gonna die soon, somewhere in between this 40-year period, then I see where the surroundings are. I'm depending on God for my food every day. I don't know how long I'm gonna stay in this spot, maybe a day, maybe a week, maybe a month, maybe a year. I don't know. So why stick around where I got to keep moving all around? I got some money. I got some cattle. Let me go back to Egypt and what I know. Could that be some of the thoughts that come through people's head? When we talk about Egypt, going back to Egypt, a lot of times when things went bad. So these are some of the things to think about and consider when we go through the scriptures itself. I know they got a lot of commentaries on a lot of stuff there. I'm just bringing out some food for thought in reference to that. All right, so in any event, Moses wind up bringing it to the Creator, and the Creator said they speak right. So now they have a law instituted about inheritance written because they brought up the issue. We know we know Gad and Reuben said, we got a lot of cattle. Well, everybody got a lot of cattle. And our heritage fell to us. How you know it fell to you? I mean, what make you think that this belongs to you? And they say we will not go over and claim with our brothers, but they'll go over and help them get their inheritance. Now that sounds kind of rough, but I spoke on it a little bit more when I dealt with the Sidra itself. But those are some of the things to consider when Gad and Reuben asked for that part. How did Manasseh be on that side? And then when we get into the area of Zelophehad, long story short, they got their inheritance that belonged to their father, but they had to marry within the tribe of their father so that territories don't drift from one spot to the next. Now, today, when we talk about today, when it comes to inheritance, we know inheritance basically would go, even amongst strict things, go to the sons, but a gift could go to anybody, sons or daughters. So we read later on during the time of Judges that Caleb, which mentioned, gave a certain type of gift to his daughter, which sometimes they might refer to as an inheritance, but it was a gift to his daughter when she was getting married to her cousin, because the cousin helped out in this big battle. So when we read the time of Judges, when Caleb's conquering the land, it's still a time of Judges because during Joshua's period, that his cousin had conquered these people up there, which was pretty much giant type people. And he offered his daughter for anybody that won this victory, and it wound up being his cousin. And he gave her some springs, and then she wasn't satisfied with one spring, gave her another spring. But those are things that is something that if it's land property, it passed through a patriarchal system. But you could give a gift to anybody, and that wouldn't be a violation of the strictness of the law. All right. So, and today, a lot of women would not tolerate saying, "I'm his daughter," just like he got sons. So you mean tell me I get nothing? So those are some things that, could be addressed by your various teachers. I don't have the time to really go into it now. What we have here is we got the Lord, and Harris Moses told that he's going to die. And of course, Joshua succeeds him. I'll speak about that next time. And going straight to the Psalms 50, in reference to this particular portion. Now, the Haftorah, like I said, would be Jeremiah, would be Kings, with Elijah being replaced, but then and the changing of the guards, so to speak, with Elijah himself, and then Jeremiah being introduced in this particular portion, because and he's told to tear down and root out, admonish the people. So that's the Haftorah with that. But I'm not going to touch on that now. But I would like for people to read it and discuss it, because Jeremiah is one of the guys that had the riddle of life. And then when you read his period of time, he actually prophesied and lived for about 40 years of prophecy. Like Moses went with 40 years of prophecy, Jeremiah went with 40 years of prophecy himself at the time. There's a lot of things going on with him. Where Elijah, the Haftorah that goes along with this particular Sidra, he mostly was prophesizing in the northern kingdom, and he winds up running to the southern kingdom, back to where Moses was. But that's for another time, another day. So we go in the book of Psalms, the 50th chapter.
We're in the book of Psalms 50. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Mismor le Asaph, a psalm of Asaph. It says,
hold it right there. Now, before you go on, I know we got these different terms. Mismor we hear a lot, or less more and stuff like that. We hear these different terms of song, but Asaph is one of the singers. They had 3 Levitical singers. The choir one. I leave it for you to find the third one. But Asaph was one of the head singers in the group, and a very prominent individual. And so, there was 3 different orders of Levitical singers that David had set up. When you go back in the Chronicles, you could do the research on it. And this is for him to bring out. Okay.
Continue.
Finish the first.
All right. It reads, El Elohim Yahuwah, Dibir Wayikra Aretz. God Yahuwah has spoken and called the earth. Prince, are you there?
Keep going, rising.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
You're breaking up.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. I'll read it again.
Yes.
It says, El Elohim Yahuwah, Dibir Wayikra Aretz. God Yahuwah has spoken and called the earth, from the rising of the sun unto the going down thereof. Out of Zion the perfection of beauty God hath shined forth. Our God cometh and doth not keep silence. A fire devoureth before him, and round about him it stormeth mightily. He calleth to the heavens above, and to the earth that he may judge his people. Gather my holy ones together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. And the heavens declare his righteousness, for God, he is judge. Selah.
All right there. All right, so what we find out is that the Creator, covers a lot of territory. All right, and God calls the righteous. There's righteous in the people and some of the things they did. And when he calls, and God said, and the third verse says, God cometh and doth not keep silent. The fire devour before him, and round about him it stormeth mightily. He calleth to the heavens above and to the earth that he may judge his people. All right. So now when God comes to judge you, it's going to be righteous judgment. And everybody may not, like the judgment, but it'd be a righteous judgment in that sense. All right. Continue.
Hallelujah.
7.
Verse 7. Hail my people, and I will speak. O Yisrael, I will testify against thee. God, thy God am I.
Hold right there. That don't sound like it. That don't sound like we coming to, you know what I mean, like we're in a good standing. That sounds like we're in a bad standing. That sounds like we are the defendant in this case. So why are we the defendant in this case? And say, "Oh, Israel, I will testify against thee," and then and then it says, "God, thy God am I." So God testifying against us, then we know we don't have a shot. So who else can be testifying against us? Because usually the person that's testifying should be the one that judges. Continue.
Verse 8, it reads, I will reprove thee for thy sacrifices, and thy burnt offerings are continually before me. I will take no bullock out of thy house, nor he-goats out of thy folds. For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle upon 1,000 hills. I know all the fowls of the mountains, and the wild beasts of the field are mine. If I were hungry, I will not tell thee, for the world is mine and the fullness thereof. Do I eat the flesh of bulls or drink the blood of goats? Offer unto God the sacrifice of thanksgiving. Pay thy vows unto the Most High. And call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver thee, and thou shalt honor me. But unto the wicked God saith, what hast thou to do to declare thy statutes, and that thou hast taken my covenant in thy mouth? Seeing thou hatest instruction, and casteth my words behind thee. When thou sawest a thief, thou hast company with him, and with adulterers was thy portion. Thou hast let loose thy mouth for evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit.
The Creator gave me the thing I froze up again. Or at least you did. Just let me read this out.
You want me to read it out?
Continue.
All right.
I keep freezing
Verse
up here.
20.
So, yeah, read it out, and then I'll just talk to you.
Thou sittest and speaketh against thy brother, thou slanderest thine own mother's son. These things hast thou done, and should I have kept silence? Thou hast thought that I was altogether such a one as thyself, but I will reprove thee and set the course before thine eyes. Now consider this, ye that fear God, lest I tear in pieces, and there be none to deliver. Whoso offereth the sacrifice of thanksgiving honoreth me, and to him that ordereth his way aright will I show the salvation of God. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. I'm going to read the 22nd verse again. Now consider this, ye that forget God, lest I tear in pieces, and there be none to deliver. Whoso offer the sacrifice of thanksgiving honors me, and to give, and to him that ordereth his way aright will I show the salvation of God. So what we can conclude in, I should have a different location next week. Hopefully I don't have this problem freezing up with this new computer thing. But in any event, what it says that sometimes when God delay because people do wrong, they think that God ain't beat me down, so God must be okay with it. That's why they say, you think I'm like you, simply because I haven't reached out and touched you yet. But we know with Abraham, it said, he told Abraham that the iniquities of the Amorites are not yet fulfilled. That means God give you a little time to see if you're going to allow you to change, allow you to get back on the good side. So some people often say, well, if I'm doing so bad and doing so wrong, then why God blessing me? You know, and people actually believe that. Then all of a sudden, next thing you know, they on Skid Row. You know, things can go topsy-turvy. And God saying, first of all, when we bring a sacrifice, when we think about sacrifices is not because I'm giving up something that I need. That brings us closer to the Creator. So when we bring any offering to the Creator, it's to say, I have an attitude of gratitude. I don't want to show you I appreciate you. That's why I bring an offering. That's why I do what I do, because I appreciate you for what you are. Because I often said, how do we bless the Creator? There's nothing we could give him when he states it like that. No bulls, no fowl. But we can give him the gratitude and respect and do his will, where his will is to give us a blessing that we cannot contain. And that's what God wanted to do. We hold it up. We refrain him. We hurt him by doing that. And people, most people will say, some people I heard often said, God, don't need us. Well, he don't need every one of us, but he definitely need mankind, because he said we was created for his glory. So if we was created for his glory, we have a necessity to God. We are a necessity to God. We the portion of his inheritance. We are a necessity to God. Now he could do other things and work things out, and create other things, but he made us to grant him a need. In that sense, if you understand what I'm saying. But all right, so with that, any mistakes been my own. I hope you got something out, and hopefully even next week I change locations, and hopefully I won't have this much of a problem with the freeze and everything. And any mistakes been my own.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Any questions, leave it in the chat.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. Yes, we'll try to rectify the problem with the bandwidth, and hopefully by next week we won't have so many freezing moments, or any freezing moments at all. So thank you all once again, praying that the Most High God, creator of heaven and earth, will continue to be with each and every one of you. As you can see on the bottom on the scroll, the various ways that you could donate to the organization. And we thank you all for your support, and we pray that the Most High God will continue to be with each and every one of you. Shalom, shalom, and everyone have a great night's sleep. Hallelujah. Shalom.
Hallelujah.